I would like to announce that a quorum is present. The meeting is duly called, and a notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The following board members are in attendance: Dr. Betty Bonner, Catherine Sells, Allison Lasson, Sheila Taylor, Michelle Alcatab, Dr. Stacy Parker, and Jenny Prosnick. First up, item B is to consider an order canvassing the November 7th, 2023 special election. Would somebody like to make a motion? Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Madam President. Based on results from Denton County and Tarrant County, I move that the board adopt the order canvassing the November 7th, 2023 bond election.
Second, Ms. Taylor. All those in favor? That is 7-0. Passes. We will now convene into closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code, Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, 074, and 089. The time is 6:01 p.m.
Student Council leaders from Donald, Forest Vista, Garden Ridge,
how hectic schedules are. Right. Great. Can't get away from you. Great. Sit down. You can see me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time is 6:59. We will now reconvene into closed open session. The time is 7 p.m. Please rise for the representation of colors by the Colony High School's junior ROTC cadets. Please remain standing as students from Caney Elementary School lead us in our pledges.
Left, right, mark time, march, left, guard, hold, right, face, present, arms,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
I'd like to recognize our JROTC color guard from the Colony, Miss Isabella Hitchliff, James Bass, Tiani Thomas, and Sierra Boots, and recognize their instructors, First Sergeant Reginald Richardson and Lieutenant Colonel Janine Edens. And I'd like to recognize our Searcy kids from the Colony, Texa, who's in kindergarten, Tyson in 3rd grade, and Tinsley in 4th grade. Now, I'm going to read some really fun facts about our pledge readers. Texa, when asked what she likes to do, she enjoys playing with her siblings, and when she grows up, she wants to be a tiger, so I highly recommend our animal science program here in the district. And Tyson enjoys watching TV and playing Pokemon Go with his dad, and when he grows up, he wants to be a football player. Is that for the Cowboys? No, okay. Well, okay. It's a tough crowd. And from Miss Tinsley, she enjoys playing basketball and she wants to be a teacher when she grows up. And so we highly recommend you see Miss Cobb after the meeting, okay? So if you will let us take a photograph so we can memorialize this wonderful opportunity with our ROTC, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And I want to thank the Searcy family for giving us 3 amazing kids here tonight. Thank you. Welcome to all. The Lewisville Board of Trustees meets monthly to receive reports from staff and take action on recommendations from the superintendent. The board receives the agenda and all supporting documentation 10 days in advance of these regular meetings, which allows us to ask and receive answers to many of our questions. The board also meets in irregularly scheduled workshops and work sessions where staff discussions and presentations are given for many of the agenda items. This protocol means lengthy discussion or a litany of questions on every agenda item often is not necessary. And as a board, we should have appropriate knowledge and preparation for responses regarding the content of our meeting tonight. In recognition of Veterans Day, which took place over the weekend and was observed by schools across our district last week, on behalf of the board, I want to express our heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who have served our nation with unwavering dedication and sacrifice. Their commitment to our country and their values they uphold as part of their military service have left an indelible mark on our community. They have not only defended our nation, but have also continued to make a profound difference in the lives of our students, colleagues, and the entire LISD family. As we reflect on the sacrifice made by our veterans and their families and the ongoing contributions of our LISD employees who have served, let us be reminded of the values that bind us together of service, duty, and honor. To our veteran employees, we salute you for your dedication, resilience, and leadership that you bring to our district each and every day. Your experiences and expertise have enriched our schools and inspired the next generation to become responsible citizens. I would ask for any veterans who are with us here today to stand so that we can recognize you and your service to our community. And there we go. Thank you so very much. Communications will now share with us this month's other recognitions and student spotlights.
Student Council leaders from Donald, Forest Vista, Garden Ridge, Hicks, Liberty, and Peters Colony Elementary Schools were recently awarded the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisor Association's Student Leadership Award. To qualify for this award, student council leaders demonstrated their commitment to outstanding student leadership and the impact on their schools and communities throughout service projects. In addition, Donald and Garden Ridge both received the American Student Council Association School of Excellence Award, an award that only 16 schools across the country were able to achieve due to their strong student leadership, citizenship, and school spirit. Congratulations to these amazing student councils. Lewisville ISD is proud of you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here. I am Heather Shorter, principal over at the STEM Academy at Donald Elementary, and I have with us today our student council advisor, Michelle Emmett, and several of our student council members who also happen to be our student council officers. We have Kinley Morgan, our president, Drew Wilder, our vice president. We have Eden Trickett, who is our secretary, Hashwan Raja, who is our treasurer, and Isaac Newberry, our historian. Thank you so much to our parents. I love it. They deserve a huge round of applause. They've done so much work. We also have many of their parents back here in the back and ready to take photos. If you guys would just stand so that we can thank you for letting us have your kiddos and letting them work in our schools.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Schott, principal at Forest Vista Elementary. I would introduce everybody, but I want this young lady, Chloe Redine. If you give her a big round of applause, please. She's going to introduce everybody because she does all the work, and so I'm going to let her do that.
Good evening. My name is Chloe Redine, and I'm one of the student council advisors at Forest Vista. Tonight we have Miss Grace Chong. She is our student council treasurer. We have Mila Chu, our secretary. We have Hannah Everett, our vice president. We have Reese Connor, our president. And Artemis Irfani, she's our historian. If you're a family member, please come up and take a picture and give them a round of applause.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kaylee Malone. I'm the assistant principal at Garden Ridge Elementary. We have our wonderful student council team here. I'll start with our advisors, Miss Emily Mansfield. And then we have our other advisor, Coach Brenda Jacobs. We have two of our officers here today, President Amy Haba and our secretary, Anna Anderson.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Rafis, principal of Hicks Elementary, and I would like to introduce our student council advisor, Amber Clifford.
Good evening. I have some fabulous students to recognize. We have two of last year's members up here. We have Austin Lee, who is our historian, and Liam Wilkerson, our president. This year's student council members, we have Sawyer Link, our president, Olivia Jones, our historian, and student council member Maddie Link. If parents could stand of these individuals, we'd like to recognize you as well.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Rainey. I am the principal at Liberty Elementary. I'm going to introduce my student council advisor. She works very hard with these students. Her name is Miss Elizabeth Banda.
Hello, everyone. So supporting us today is our assistant principal, Kimberly Cox, who is always very attentive to all of the needs of our student council. We have our president, Barbie Torres, our secretary, Emery Gage, and our treasurer, Brandon Chin, with us tonight. They do a fabulous job leading our student council and our students. And parents, if you'll please stand so we can recognize you for all the incredible work that you do with our kiddos. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rebecca Chirinos. I'm principal at Peters Colony Elementary, and I have with here our student council advisor, Ms. Dina Chavez, and our fantastic student council officers. First up, we have our president, Ellie Callahan, and our, oh yeah, please applaud. She's fantastic. And our vice president, Drew Hamilton. Yes. And our secretary, Jacelyn Miller. And our treasurer, Zeke Jared. And our historian, Donna Nava. And our other historian, we have Max Morris. And parents, I see most of you are standing, but please stand and let us recognize you. Thank you so much for your support this year.
Marcus High School boys water polo team won the 6A state water polo tournament with a 25-12 score against Bernie Champion. MVP of the match was senior Joseph McCreary with 10 goals, 2 assists, and 12 shots on goal. Leading up to the state championship game, Marcus used a 4-1 third quarter run to pull away for a 14-9 win over Richmond Foster in the state semifinals. Overall, Marcus finished the season with an outstanding 24-2 record. In addition, Marcus Water Polo head coach Brandon Dion was named Texas High School Coaches Association's Coach of the Year for boys water polo. Congratulations, Marauders.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Dion. I'm the head coach of Marcus Water Polo. On behalf of myself and Coach Conrad, I just want to introduce you to the team. We want to thank LISD and Dr. Rapp for their support. We want to thank athletics, Coach Lyles, Coach Davis, and Coach Ford for their support, and of course, Mr. Skelton, our principal, for his support. So I'll go down the line here real quick. Number 1, Cooper Smith. Yeah! Number 2, Owen Crow. Number 3, Ash Bruner. Number 4, our captain, Silas Dion. Number 5, Chris Pasiadlo. Number 6, Landon Ewer. Number 7, Dylan Hayslip. Number 8, in your state MVP, Joseph McCreary. Number 10, Brady Tanner. Number 11, Devin Lloyd. Number 12, Sebastian Coots. Also number 12, Jake Slendier. Number 13, Austin Smarood. And number 14, Tristan Birch. All right, and then parents in the house, thank y'all for your support. If you don't mind standing up, please. Hey, boys, 2 rows. All strong guys in the back.
Flower Mound High School junior Paige Matthews recently achieved a perfect score of 5 on the AP World History exam. The test covers history from the 13th century into modern day and contains multiple choice, short answer, long essay, and document-based questions. Paige's multiple choice and written responses earned every point possible on the exam. To put this accomplishment into perspective, out of more than 350,000 students worldwide who took the exam, only 6 students managed to attain a flawless score. Congratulations, Paige, on this outstanding achievement.
Good evening. I'm Chad Russell, the principal of Flower Mound High School, and it's my honor to introduce to you this incredible young lady, Paige Matthews. And if Paige's parents would stand, they're in the house as well, Dr. and Mrs. Matthews.
Ms. Catherine Sells will present this month's Recognize Someone.
Under our Recognize Someone, we had a parent who shared about Mrs. Beck at Garden Ridge Elementary School. My son was recently diagnosed as autistic. We have been struggling as a family, as parents trying to find things that work for my son, trying to modify his behavior or get him to behave. It has been the most exhausting experience. The amount of support and ideas we get from Mrs. Beck gives me such relief. I am so thankful for all of her wisdom and support. Her help is absolutely priceless, and I sleep better at night knowing my little boy is in the best, most capable hands. We are forever grateful. Also, a parent shared about Tony Ernest at the Colony High School. Tony is not just a security guard. He truly cares about the students of the Colony High School. He knows both of my boys by name, even though one has already graduated. When my oldest recently graduated from boot camp, Tony sought out my youngest and had him deliver a challenge coin. These are meaningful to those in the service and are used to commemorate milestones and achievements. My youngest was so proud to be able to deliver that coin on Tony's behalf.
I'm going to take privilege and move an agenda item up. That would be item 01. Action item to consider approval of the DATCU sponsorship agreement. Dr. Rapp.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm thrilled this evening to be able to recognize the wonderful partnership with the leadership of DATCU, and that is the sponsorship agreement that is going to provide $1.5 million over the next 10 years to the Lewisville Independent School District.
All right. With that, would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Alcatev.
I move that the board approve the sponsorship agreement between DATCU and Lewisville ISD as recommended by administration.
Ms. Sells? Second. All those in favor? I believe that passed unanimously. So I believe DATCU has something for us. Oh, you absolutely may comment. Do not think that I will not try to. Dr. Bonner, I believe you had some comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to formally thank DATCU personally. DATCU has been a generational supporter of Lewisville ISD for years and years. I know I'm a 30-year member of DATCU, Denton Area Teachers Credit Union, and I just appreciate the great service from people like Melanie Robinson, Francis Owahi, Dr. White recently, and of course Mary Jacoby. As a community partner for all those years, it's significantly meaningful. I know you all have been around for the entire time I've been around here in Lewisville ISD, and I know you'll far outlast me. So thank you for your support.
Appreciate it. And don't think I won't try and take that check to a bank. Public comments are next on the agenda. Those who wish to speak at a board meeting often... Oh, I'm so sorry. I skipped you. It's because I had my scratches. Dr. Rapp, update.
Okay, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm pleased to bring you my update for this month. So a few things. First of all, I just always want to start out with our vision and mission, and we saw it here tonight on display that we want our students to graduate being confident, equipped with the knowledge and skills to thrive and adapt for their future, and I just love about our mission, engaging and inspiring learners and leaders. So first, let me start off with gratitude. As we enter into the week of Thanksgiving, I wanted to thank all of you for all the events and amount of things that you all are at each and every month. This is by no means representative of all of them, but I know that it is one of the biggest highlights for our community to see you all out supporting our schools. And I say all the time, y'all are champions for public education and our biggest cheerleaders of our schools in our community. So thank you for that, of course. And then I'm very proud of all of the Veterans Day recognitions that went on around the district last week. I'm thankful to Communications. They put out a piece yesterday just about all that went on around the district and how we honored our veterans. And Miss Bay's father was at the Lewisville High School event, and it was wonderful to see him as well. So just very thankful for what all of our kids learn on Veterans Day from getting the opportunity to have our community come together for that. And then Rap on the Road lives on every single month. It's just been my pleasure to always be out in our schools. I've been so thankful for the feedback that I get when I'm out on the road, but more than anything, it really does lift up our schools and our staff who absolutely always need encouragement. And anytime I get the chance, I just always say, let's encourage our public educators as much as possible. I've had high school student advisory meetings, and so just a little bit of update about that. They've been working hard on blood drives on campus, their canned food drives, of course, Stuff the Pantry. We had recently, they too talked about veterans appreciation, their kindness initiatives. They're working to continue kindness work beyond just Kindness Week that we had. And then they also have taken to heart the message about recognition of staff, and they share with me how they're doing that each month. And of course, it's important to me that they get leadership experience. They're leaders at our high schools, and so we ran them through a mock board meeting. Dr. Miller does a great job of assigning them parts. And one of the things I want them to learn is about what it's like to lead in a public service role in our community. And that was a great experience for them. And then, of course, they're all a part of the LISD Angel Tree. And then my elementary and middle school student advisory meetings have kicked off as well. In fact, a couple of students that were recognized with Student Council here this evening are on those groups. I'm so thankful to our child nutrition team. They are coming to all 5 of these meetings because the top thing I get is feedback about lunch. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to bring the people with me, and I'm very thankful to them. Y'all are doing a great job of getting their feedback, and it's very helpful. And then I've enjoyed, of course, reading at our schools, too, as our campuses have had so many different opportunities to read to kids. As far as staff goes, we've had brand ambassadors, both year 1 and year 2, to equip them with knowledge and information to share back on their campuses. I've got 22 lunches with Lori scheduled. That gives me an opportunity to celebrate and hear from our staff. I've had DeLay and Lamar lunch with them recently. And then, of course, I meet regularly with our teacher association reps to get their feedback. And then connection with families, we've had Key Communicators Year 1. We had last night our second meeting. This time around they heard from Ms. Taylor about reflecting on her first year of board service last year. And then they heard from Jennifer Perry. They've surpassed 16,000 members in our PTA. So they've had to raise their goal, which is wonderful. And we talked, they got a lot of education from Ms. Maloney about school finance. We were also going to do accountability with Dr. Fitzhugh, but we didn't get to that because I ran a soft schedule. So we'll get to that next time. And then Key Communicators Year 2, we've really been talking a lot about our legislative priorities with that group. And of course, we all had a great time at Bowling for Scholars. I also recently, in connecting with our community, had last month my first Ministerial Alliance meeting, connecting with our faith and religious leaders in our community. I've met recently with our Chin pastors as well, and then I had a business advisory meeting. It's always good for us to hear from our community groups and maintain a strong connection with our partners out in the community. We've had great dignitary nights. Of course, those all came to a close as football season has closed, but I know we all enjoyed connecting with our local elected officials and dignitaries through that. And then I wanted to give you a little update just about surveys. So this time around, we're doing our family and student surveys twice this year, and of course, we do a pulse check with staff 3 times. We had over 11,000 family survey responses, over 26,000 student responses, and over 3,400 staff responses. We had 96 of our families indicate their child's glad to come to school every day, 95% feeling we support their child's well-being, and 93% of our parents saying our school staff does a great job. We randomly survey for customer service people who are family members that come through our front offices. They're randomly sampled, they get a survey, and we have 98% of parents indicating they had a positive customer experience through our front office staff. 84% of our students indicate they have at least one adult at school they feel comfortable talking to. 84% indicated they have a positive learning environment. 97% of our elementary and middle school students indicate their classes have a treatment agreement, which is part of what we've been working on. And 80% of our middle school and high school students indicate they're a member of a club, organization, or group, as we're working on getting that data for the first time. Staff pulse check, 88% indicate they have trusting relationships at work, 87% that they have the training to be effective, 84% that we have clear and open communication, and 44% of staff have indicated they are seeing efforts that we're making to minimize the amount of paperwork. We've still got a lot of work to do on that as well. Of course, I always update you all about my newsletters. 50% open rate for staff, 58% for families. That's well above the industry average. Celebrations, we just did several of those here. We will look forward to celebrating our 3 of the top 5 UIL 6A marching bands coming up. And then, of course, we all were part of awarding $36,000 in campus grants recently with LEF. We are over 3,200 submissions in the Recognize Someone program just now for this school year. Of course, we had just 3,000 total last year in its first year, and 35% of those submissions are from parents and community members. So everybody's doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep those recognitions coming. They make a huge difference, and that's my update for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp. Now, public comments are next on the agenda. Those who wish to speak at a board meeting often expect a dialogue with the Board of Trustees. However, in accordance with Texas law, the board is not able to respond directly to comments or questions posed by speakers. Texas law also does not allow the board to discuss or take action on any issue presented during the public forum unless the item has already been posted for action on the meeting agenda. Each speaker will receive a written follow-up from the district in the next 3 business days. The board and district administration welcomes and values the feedback shared during this time of the meeting, and we are grateful for the continued partnership between LISD and the families and the communities we serve. We have 2 speakers tonight. Lewisville ISD stakeholders, meaning current students, parents, employees, and residents of Lewisville ISD, will have up to 3 minutes each for their presentation. First up, I have Ms. Cindy Heim. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you. Really, just in the spirit of gratitude I've seen tonight and just celebration, I really just wanted to come and just express gratitude to the board, to our teachers, to our community, how you are so valued and cared for. We love you, and we're so thankful that you support our kids, our parents, and this community. I'm a parent of 3 kids that have graduated from LISD, from kindergarten all the way, graduated, went to college, have careers, successful, and a lot of that is because of teachers, LISD, the board that has been supporting them. They're successful, and they prepared for life because of all the things that they learned through just the investment of their teachers throughout the years. So again, I just wanted to recognize you all, and also just excited for the next generation, because teachers and board, it's for all generations. So I have a new grandbaby, and I'm excited for him to go through LISD and grow up and learn from just the great education system and all the teachers that love so big, and you guys support them and give them all the tools that they need to be successful in the classrooms. So again, I just want to say that you all are seen, you are loved, and you all are appreciated. And so thank you. I'm so blessed to be a part of tonight, of the celebrations, and just this community that I love so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heim. Next up, we have Lindsay Shields. Welcome.
Thank you. I do have a quick question. Am I allowed to publicly acknowledge an administrator? Because I heard names shared in some of the emails that were read. Am I allowed to say that, or do I need to keep the name and school disclosed?
If you could keep that separate.
Keep that disclosed.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have 3 kiddos. We've gone through LISD. I'm a former employee of LISD. My husband's a former administrator of LISD. So we love LISD. We believe in LISD. We're grateful for the district. And I recently had to meet with an administrator at one of my son's schools. And I was nervous, a little bit like I am right now. And as a parent, it's hard to ask for a meeting with an administrator, and you fear that your concern will not be heard or validated. And I just want to celebrate her so big. She saw me, she heard me, she validated my concern. And she was so down to earth, and she took her time. She didn't feel like she was in a hurry. And really, she went above and beyond to ask questions and really to try to solve the problem right then and there. And so I just want to celebrate her. And I just want to say that I'm grateful for the administration in the district, and I know that starts from the top down. So thank you, because you take time, you see people, you stop, you listen. And so that starts from the top down, and we're really grateful for the leadership in the district. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Ms. Shields. Recognize someone would be an awesome way to reach out to that
I did
administrator.
that as well.
Very
yes.
good.
And so I told my husband when I came home, I said if I could give her a 5-star review, I would do that. So she gets 5 stars from me.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda, a public hearing on the financial integrity rating system of Texas. Ms. Maloney.
Thank you, President Prosnick. This evening, Dr. Rapp, members of the board, this evening we are presenting the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas 22-23 report year, but it's on the fiscal year 22 data. So it is a report that really is 2 years in arrears. It's not connected to our current audit that's going on right now for fiscal year 23 or our current budget that we're in for fiscal year 24. I'd like to say thank you to the Board Financial Committee, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Prosnick, and Dr. Bonner they got a preview of this report a couple of weeks ago, and always appreciative of any feedback that we get coming before coming in the hearing. So what is Schools First? It's the financial accountability rating system for Texas. It ensures that our public schools are held accountable for the quality of their financial management practices. It's designed to encourage Texas public schools to better manage their resources and provide the maximum allocation possible for direct instructional purposes. And school districts are required to hold that public meeting to present the financial rating and reports. You are required to publish that in a newspaper, and that was published, our hearing was published on October 29th, and we are in compliance there. The determination of the school's first rating, the first 4 indicators are yes or no. If you fail any of those, you fail schools first. And then you see the scoring rubric for A, B, C, and F. Our district received a rating of A, superior achievement, 94 points. Of the 1,192 school districts in the state of Texas, 88% earned an A, 7% a B, 5% a C, and 1% an F. A little history on the indicators. 1 through 4 are considered critical indicators. Again, if you fail on any of those, you fail schools first. 6 through 14 are solvency indicators, and 15 through 20 are competency indicators. So we'll go right through these. The questions are designed for a yes answer and sometimes seem a little bit awkward, and we'll report on what our rating is for this year, and then we are required to report what our rating was for last year. The first one was the complete annual financial report and data submitted to TEA within 30 days of the January 28th deadline, and the answer to that is yes. It was also yes with our reporting error last year, also acknowledged there. Indicator number 2, was there an unmodified opinion in the AFR? That is the highest opinion that you can receive. It's otherwise a clean audit, and we received a clean audit. We also received a clean audit in 21-22. Indicator number 3 is really looking to see that all of your payments of debt agreements are made at fiscal year end. We made all of our debt agreement payments for the 23 report and the previous report, and are on track to do that for the next report. Indicator number 4 is wanting to look to see if you make timely payments to the TRS system, Teacher Retirement System, the Texas Workforce Commission, Internal Revenue Service, and other government agencies. We did make all timely payments for the 23 report and the prior year report, and we will continue to do so. Indicator 5 is not being scored again this year. It's that net pension indicator, and there's some problems at the government, at the GASB level for that liability, and so we continue not to score that indicator. Indicator number 6 was the average change in assigned and unassigned fund balance over 3 years less than 25% decrease, or did the current year's assigned and unassigned fund balances exceed 75 days of operational expenditures? We met in both of those areas. That is looking at the years 18-19 through 21-22, a 3% change because we did have a pretty significant insertion into the fund balance during COVID in 19-20. 75 days cash on hand would equal to $111 million, and we had $150 million on hand, so we passed in both of those areas. Indicator number 7 was the number of days of cash on hand and current investments in the general fund for the school district sufficient to cover operating expenditures. To receive all 10 points, you have to have greater than 90 days. We had 125.5 days cash on hand here in LISD. Indicator number 8 was the measure of current assets to current liabilities ratio for the school district sufficient to cover short-term debt. This is in the government-wide schedule. Do we have the current assets to cover those short-term liabilities? Our assets would be our cash and equivalents and receivables. Our liabilities is going to be our payables, our accrued wages, and anything that's due within 1 year. This is one that, it's really a corporate indicator. We received 6 points and 8 points in the previous year. I'm providing the history of this indicator. It used to be indicator 7, and you can see that we usually score between 6 and 10 points. Indicator 9 is asking, did you spend more than you earned? We did have a deficit in fiscal year 22, but you have an automatic pass with over 60 days cash on hand, and we had 125. Indicator 10 is not being scored again, and it's due to ESSER because you're looking at budgeted to actual expenditures, and that was in the 21-22 school year, and they are elected not to score it. because we were still in the middle of COVID, and that was very difficult with all of the ESSER money coming into the general fund. Indicator 11 was the ratio of long-term liabilities to total assets for the school district sufficient to support long-term solvency. Again, this is a corporate indicator. We collect taxes to meet our liabilities and the debt service. So we scored 8 points there. And again, I wanted to provide our history in this indicator, and we have been scoring anywhere between 4 and 8 points for many, many years. Reminder that property taxes are collected yearly to make the district's debt service payment. Our assets don't have anything to do with making that payment. Indicator number 12, what is the correlation between future debt requirements and the district's assessed property value? That's just saying, can the district make the principal and interest payment? The correlation is less than 2.5, and that's because of our strong tax base in the LISD footprint. Indicator number 13 was the school's district's administrative cost ratio equal to or less than the threshold. And you can see that we are lower than what the threshold for the receiving 10 points at 0.0674. We scored 10 points this year and 10 points last year as well. 14 and 15 are not being scored, again, due to coming out of the COVID. Those are enrollment indicators and ADA projection indicators for the legislature. And so I foresee that in the very near future, those will be back in the system to be scored again. Indicator 6 did the comparison of the public education information management system data to like information in the school district's AFR result in a total variance of less than 3% of all expenditures by function. Again, that's 3% is the target. Our score was 0.00007. So we were there. Ceiling passed this year and last year. Indicator 7 is asking if the external auditor reported that the AFR was free of any instances of material weaknesses. We got a false score on that. That is what you want. There was no report of material weaknesses. Ceiling passed this year and the previous year. And indicator number 18, did the external auditor indicate that the AFR was free of any instances of material noncompliance for grants, contracts and laws related to local, state, or federal funds? Again, false. There was no report of any material noncompliance. We received all 10 points and did in the previous first report. Indicator 19, did the school district pass the required financial information, post the required financial information on its website? We post all required financial items, did so in this first report and in the previous one as well, and we continue to do that through our financial transparency indicators and other postings. And then indicator number 20, did the school district's administration and school board members discuss any changes and or impact to local, state, and federal funding at the board meeting within 120 days before the district adopted its budget? And we discussed the budget and state funding at many public meetings throughout the fiscal year. We managed to pass that, and we passed it the previous year as well. A couple of disclosures that we have to put in the first report. The superintendent's current employment contract is posted on our website. The reimbursements to the superintendent, both Dr. Rogers and Dr. Rapp served across that fiscal year, and then to the board members who served across that fiscal year, some past and some present, and some of our new members will have that opportunity to be in this report in a first report coming soon to you next year. Disclosure number 3, there were no outside compensation or fees to report to either Dr. Kevin Rogers or Dr. Lori Rapp. And disclosure number 4, there were no gifts to report by either of the superintendents that served in that fiscal year or any of the board members who served in that fiscal year. There were no business transactions to report for any of the board members that served across that fiscal year. And the only other disclosure is for that 12-month period is that our school district received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from both the Association of School Business Officials International, and the Government Finance Officers Association. That application is in progress. And so thank you very much. That is the end of the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas public hearing, first report. Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Maloney. The public hearing on the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas is now open. If there are any persons present who would like to speak on this topic, please come forward at this time. Not all at once. Since there are no speakers, I declare this public hearing closed. We will move on to the next agenda item, which is consent. Are there any items to be pulled, or would someone like to make a motion? No, not that I know of. Ms. Sells?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda items as recommended by administration.
Second? Dr. Bonner? Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Passes. Next on the agenda are information items. First up is student learning with Dr. Fitzhugh.
Good evening. Wait, there we go. I was like, it's coming, it's coming. Tonight we're going to look at the beginning of year data for our early childhood literacy goal, our early childhood math goal, and kind of get an update on where we're standing with our CCMR goal as well. So at the September 11th meeting, the board voted on the goals for early childhood reading, math, and CCMR. We use iStation for reading and math, and then for CCMR, we look at their goals are part of their CIP. So when we look at our third grade beginning of year data for our students, you can see there in the BOY row where all of our data is coming in. 70% of our all students were at grade level during that window. 98.3% of our third graders completed the assessment. This data does not contain IEP progress, which we do add in at the end of year. Just for some context, if you look across the different years, 70% is where we tend to come in around the beginning of year time with our third graders. And so we feel like we're on track there. We are working to close some gaps between some of the student groups, so we hopefully will get to those, meet those goals as well. When you look at individual campuses, 5 of our campuses have already met their target. We have 19 that are within 10% of their target. 9 are within 10 to 20%, and then we have 6 that have more than 20% to go. Dr. Miller and I have been meeting with all of our campuses to talk about their goals and how they're continuing to reach, even if they've met their goals, especially with some of the student group areas. And so that is something that all of our campuses are still working with. When it comes to early childhood math, it's just always important to remember that beginning of year assessment, not all of the TEKs have been taught, and math is very different than reading. So covering the content, because they're very individualized, is important when students are tested. Also, because we use iStation Math, it's not aligned to our scope and sequence. It is a screening test meant to diagnose where students are needing some support. So when you look at beginning of year, at our end of year target of 494, we have 52.6% of our third graders meeting that 494 already. This is after 4 weeks of instruction. They're already where we expect them to be at the end of year at third grade. So that is not we're in a good spot with that. Additionally, when we looked at the on-level beginning of year, like if I rolled it back a little below the 494, we had 69.1% of our students there. So I do think with the full year of instruction, we're on track to meet that goal. Now we're looking at how do we make sure all of our individual student groups are on progress to meet that goal as well. Again, this does not have IEP data in it, so when we add that in, we will also see an additional jump. When you look back over the years at beginning of year data, we're actually back, we're better than we were in 2022, so we've made a little increase, but it's kind of back in line with where we saw 2021. When you look at campus specifically, we have 1 campus that has met their target, 3 that were within 15%, 14 that were up to 25%, and then 21 that have a little bit larger gap to cover. But again, beginning of your data, we expect to have a bigger gap. We're already seeing that gap shrink here in November.
So I just wanted to speak to the collaborative efforts that go on to support the campuses. From a learning and teaching perspective, we have continued our efforts with professional development and curriculum support. There's several represented here with Ms. Spalding, Ms. Kelly, and Ms. Dorman here tonight, and then Mr. Cooper as we get to CCMR, but all doing a great job of supporting our campuses through learning labs. Those have been quite successful. We've had an increase and an uptick in the request to have our folks come out and to support that and provide coverage so that teachers can work through a learning lab process. The reading labs have focused on foundational skills and small group differentiated support, modeling that, letting them be able to see our people work with teachers. And the same is true with math, but with a focus on intentional problem solving and then the small group differentiation so that they can see that in action, take it back to their classrooms, and then we can follow up with the principal and conduct walks to see how it's going for their campuses. And then we have shared this previously, but we have several administrators in learning and teaching who are from certain areas of our department who are partnering with the key campuses that we're just able to offer personalized support, be available, get to know their kids, and then be around to know what the supports are that they need in addition to whatever is currently happening on the campus. We've done a lot of work around the extended constructed written response, which is very new for our campuses. We've completed several, 6 or 7 different opportunities, even here in the evenings with Ms. Pasquale Vick. Those have been very well attended, and we've had great feedback on their understanding of what, now that we have samples, we can put those in front of them from the state and ourselves to say this is what these scores look like and what it needs to look like as far as the depth of writing and how much needs to be included in, and things we learned from those who didn't do as well too. So we've learned a lot from those trainings. And then ongoing support from the learning facilitators that we have that get out there with personalized coaching. We actually log all of those, and we have 840 math and reading sessions logged so far this year to support our campuses. And then the continued discussions about data, such as what we're presenting tonight, are constantly happening with our campuses in the PLC realm too.
So for CCMR data, one of the pieces that we have really focused on is trying to expand access for our students to college readiness exams, as that's one of the main measures that's used by the state as well. What you can see there is in October during the SAT school day, we had 1,700 students complete the SAT. One of the increases that we saw was LHS really worked to make sure that all of their students who had not accessed a test before were taking them. It's a population that doesn't always test on the weekends, and so we saw a big uptick at that campus compared to previous years. And so we're seeing a lot of intentionality behind having discussions with students about readiness and what does it look like to be ready and accessing the different routes to readiness.
I wanted to make note just that as we analyze and support our campuses with growth in the CCMR indicators, that our local goals are about offering and making sure they engage in opportunities, and they aren't as stringent as what the state is requiring because it tends to penalize students for their exploration opportunities. And so we're working with all of our campuses on both the offerings as well as trying to track through what the state's requiring for completion and certifications and all of those things. We continue to work with the campuses. We have done a lot of work, Mr. Cooper and his team, with aligning our programs of study and the completer requirements that are coming, learning how to data mine with our campuses on EdUgents and making sure they know how to get the information they need. We are currently redesigning the secondary winter update, where we meet with principals and counselors about their registration and course descriptions and offerings, and we will conduct that when we get back from the Thanksgiving break. We're doing that now by feeder pattern with the middle schools within a feeder pattern as well as the high schools to have really specific conversations with them about their current data. And then we've got some purposeful scheduling going on at our campuses with the pairing of college prep math and English as a senior option at LHS, being more strategic. And then making sure that our parent-facing websites talk thoroughly about advanced academics and then our offerings through Tech East, Tech West, and personal graduation plans. And then we're exploring a college and career course in middle school that we're looking to pilot that will give our students a sampling of all the things to come and the possibilities in the CTE world.
And so with that, that is the conclusion of our beginning of year student learning update. We will be back in March with a middle of year update, and then again in June with an end of year update.
Any questions, Ms. Taylor?
I just wanted to say thank you for the slide that provided the details of the support that you're giving to each campus, because I think whenever the reports are given, I'm always asking, what are we doing to help close the gap that for academic achievement for our students in the various cohorts? So thanks, that is very helpful with what we are doing to provide those important supports to the campuses and the teachers.
I look forward to the next, sorry, Dr. Barker.
I just have a quick comment because I know a lot of campuses and districts try to play the accountability game, and so I wanted to highlight something you said that I think is super important. We know what the expectations from the state are and what they're giving points to and what they're not. So we know what the impact is, but we are making decisions based on what's best for each kid, not what's best for our number. And I think that that's really, really important, and the way that it should be. And I'm so thankful that we are in a district and that we get to serve with you in a district that has that mentality.
I agree. I look forward to seeing the numbers rise as we get our next information. And to piggyback on something Dr. Barker said, I was at a Future of Education symposium yesterday, and one of the things that the person who spoke about college, what they spoke about was the kids who had the greatest success were kids who had internships, which meant kids who were exposed to what the job actually looked like. And I think if we start doing that in middle school, I think that once again gives our kids more of an opportunity to set them up for success. And I look forward to hearing more about what that looks like. Next up, it's our monthly technology report with Mr. Colbeck.
Thank you, Madam President. In Board Book, you have the data sheet that's tied to this monthly technology report. Just want to point out this is for the month of September 30th with the date ending. Bond funds, we're able to close out a couple other projects, so that went up slightly from the month prior to $7.9 million remaining. Just a reminder that we do have a couple projects committed there with the ERP consulting component, as well as phase 2 and 3 of the shared device project. And then last month we shared with the board we're working on what are the remaining pieces we need with the product substitution for the wide area network. We're working on something to bring back to the board in December. Also, referencing September being a new month, it's showing data for new fiscal year as well. So what you're seeing for revenue would be essentially for the revenues that were collected and hit our books in this new fiscal year. Okay, and the same with the expenditures. But the remaining balance in IFE is $2.4 million. On the device side, I want to point out a couple pieces there because as we are going to start transitioning into implementing the 2023 bond, there's some items that are going to be higher priority. And as you can see, color-coded teacher devices, right now our average age is over 5 years old. So we're going to be working to bring a recommendation as one of our first projects in 2023 to the board because of that. And you'll notice too, while our main iPad count for students in grades 4 through 12, we're at 3.7 months, but by the time we get through the end of the year, we're going to be averaging over 4 years for all grade levels. So that's going to be kind of step 2 on the major device refresh, but that's really being driven by age and need of our inventory. As we turn the page to page 2, a couple pieces I want to point out. Our opt-in number has crept up a little bit, about 0.5%. We're at almost 98.5% of students in grades 4 through 12 are opted into the 1-to-X program. Also, I want to point out that our devices on campus number has come up a little bit since August, which I expected August to be a little bit lower as we ramp up for the year. But we are almost at that 87% mark, which I think is very good progress. As far as bandwidth usage, our total bandwidth, we're averaging almost 85% of total bandwidth in that education category. And our bandwidth per student per day is right around 150 meg. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Are there any questions? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Colbeck.
Thank you.
Moving on to our discussion items. It's the monthly financial report, including the bond report, land sales report, and the monthly investment summary. Ms. Maloney.
Thank you so much, President Prosnick, Dr. Rapp, members of the board. This is the first month of the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2023, unaudited. You can see that we have very little local tax revenue that came in the month of September, but we are $12 million up in state funding due to the property tax compression. So we're up $12 million over where we were last year in state funding. That's the big story in the general fund. I will say that the payroll last year was $34 million, and so we would expect that to jump up a little bit with the raises that were approved last spring. In the Child Nutrition Fund, we've got a long way to go with our spend down plan, and in the Debt Service Fund, we've really had no action other than just a little bit of collections. Moving on to page 104 with the grants, ESSER 3 is now no longer in our grant reporting as we drew all of that down. And in both the construction report we earned $329,000 in interest in the month of September, and in the land sales $102 million in interest. And I would like to, if you turn over to page 109, really a kudos to the finance team with investments. We're doing anything that we can. That was a land sale T-bill that matured at the end of October, and we just put it in for 7 months and earned for about $400,000 on about $12 million. So real proud of the work that's going on there. So that is the monthly financials.
Thank you, Ms. Maloney. Are there any questions? Moving on, the 2024-2025 academic calendar. Dr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So a lot has happened since our information item in September with the calendar, so I wanted to kind of get you up to speed and talk about next steps. So actions the calendar committee has taken, we reviewed, remember last year we sent out a survey and got thousands of responses of people's preferences for calendars, so we looked at that again. Then we met 3 times over the course of a couple months. We met twice, and then I went and kind of took our options that we had. We had about 8 options, took all those and went out to different people, principals, staff, and parents, and said, okay, here is what's driving this calendar. There's a couple choices we're going to have to make. Here are the different options. What are your preferences on those choices? And then came back and did a few tweaks. And then I actually met with another parent group after that, after I submitted the things, so I'm going to suggest one change to one of them. But so we did it a little different this year to get some more feedback on that. So we landed on 3 different options that we'll look at for tonight as far as going out for people to give us their rankings of their choice. When we talked to all those different groups, the things that came back, and they actually submitted things. So I didn't just listen to them. They actually submitted in a form so I could kind of synthesize all of that. People were interested in, we want to early start, something we've been doing now, and then can we see what a later start would look like? So we have that option available. Pretty much consensus across the board was, can we please have first semester in by winter break, which the later you start, that impacts your count on your semesters. So there's that. 3 weekends for winter break. You'll notice in all 3, we really didn't have wiggle room on extending it a couple more days for winter break. So they're all consistent in all those calendar options, but there are 3 weekends for all of them. We looked at a couple spring break options, but really it came down to the count for your 9 weeks of where you're going to end and how the end of the year would look. Ending prior to Memorial Day was still really, really popular. So we tried that and then explained we do have one option that extends past that, that kind of spreads the calendar out, a little more breathing room within the calendar. Definitely looked at how we could balance all those, and that one that has the breathing room is pretty heavy on the spring semester. And then something that was a little different this year was we really talked about the half days. Remember 2 years ago, we really were hearing from staff the need for more time for professional learning and for work time. And so we built in some more half days for both of those to help them. Well, we heard a lot this time from parents of the half days are really, really hard. So we definitely want to give teachers professional learning time and work time, but could we do it where we don't have kids have a half day? So we did figure out a way to do that, and we still need those instructional minutes. So we'll look at the calendar. I'll show you how we accomplish that. But also that helps us with attendance, because attendance is lower on the half days, and it also helps us with CTE funding, because your classes are shorter than 90 minutes on those half days too. So funding's impacted that. And then, so we still want the collaborative time for teachers and work time, but just how does that look different? And then something else which was really inspiring to me was that when we talked to staff about here's why the calendar looks like it does, the question started coming up, well, could we look at possibly increasing the minutes of our actual instructional day? Now, remember during COVID when we did that, and we got some feedback that we adjusted it back. So it was nice to see they understand why that might help in the calendar. So we did get that input and said that would be a long process. We would want to take people through and really get a lot of feedback about that. So we won't be doing that this next year, but we definitely will want to maybe explore that in the future. But it was nice that people actually realized how that drives the whole calendar. So we did share minutes with them just as we explored, because if you look at different districts and look at their calendars, you can't compare day to day because each district has different instructional minutes in their day. And then also just the impact of a work day. When teachers say they want more work time, that does not connect to instructional minutes. And remember, all of our calendar is driven by instructional minutes. So we landed on 3 different options. So option 1 is the early start, and that's almost like this year's calendar. Because of the leap year and the wonkiness, it actually bumps staff that they would have a trade day in July, which staff was not a fan of that. But here's an early option one. This one is the one I wanted to recommend if we could change. If you look at the October, that's the end of the first 9 weeks. Typically, we have a student half day at the end of the 9 weeks, and we give teachers a work day for the rest of the day. So we want to keep teachers having a work day. But what I would suggest on this calendar is making the end of the 9 weeks be the 10th. And so students come on the 10th, the full day, then they're done. And that Friday is the morning is professional time for staff, so we still get instructional minutes. And the afternoon is work time, so staff still gets work time as well. That's already on the other 2 calendars, but we didn't have it built on this. But when I talked more with parents, they were like, that would be really great if we could do that. So we did, there's still student half days before the winter break and before spring break, because no teacher wants to have professional learning before break. So we didn't add those in there. But so this is what option 1 with an early start date would be like, and you can see where the end of school would be there. And kids would actually start on a Thursday on this one. We could not get everything to work out where they would start on a Wednesday without staff going into really, really early into July. The second option, this is a later start date. We would still end before Memorial Day. Staff would have a trade day on Friday, so they'll actually be restarting on that Monday the 5th if they've had trade day, and students would start on a Tuesday. And then this one is some people are like, well, can we try where students start on a Wednesday? I said, sure. So students start on a Wednesday. But when you put in all the requirements for the calendar and everything, there's no way that if you notice on this one, when we start on Tuesday, we end on the Friday. The student's last day is Friday before Memorial Day. So if you push anything back past that, then you have to go past Memorial Day. So, but we thought we could put it out there as an option, if people wanted to consider that. So those are the 3 options, changing that option 1, changing that October day that we have up for consideration. So if y'all have any input or are okay with that adjustment, and then after that we want to do the same thing we did last year where we put these 3 options out there for people to rank what's your first, second, and third preference for staff and for families. to do that, and so we would give them a couple weeks with a reminder and then come back in December with the results of that in order to make a recommendation.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mo. Are there any questions? Ms. Lasan?
Okay, so remind me, this year, there's like quite a few days between the last day of school and graduation, right? Is that right?
Yes, there's a week and a half.
Okay.
A week and a half.
So we don't know, I was trying to look at Dr. Rapp. Do we know yet when graduation, I mean, I know we've set a deal with the STAR for the next few years, but each year, right, we're determining with the STAR, like we don't know already, like when it's going to be.
Not for the class of 25.
Okay, so I guess, so have y'all thought about that? Because I don't really like that it's a week and a half between the last day of school and graduation, because people want to get the heck out of Dodge, I think, you know? And so is that, knowing that, how would any of that be affected? Do you know?
For the calendar?
Yeah. Or your thoughts on that? Because we don't know when it would be, right?
But we can determine it once we...
Right.
Y'all see what I'm getting at?
Yes, but ultimately, we really are having to, we work with the STAR on trying to stay away from Memorial Day weekend being the graduation weekend, because that's where we found that the infrastructure of the city of Frisco is limited, and then that would limit our audience size. So the more we close school around Memorial Day, you're going to get some gap between Memorial Day and graduation, just because that's when we got the best audience size for the STAR. So yes, I understand, Ms. Lasan, and don't disagree. That gap is not something we're used to, although I think it'll be interesting to see how this year goes. The high school principal feedback has actually been the little bit of breathing room for them is not necessarily bad.
Sure.
And people get to go enjoy their Memorial Day for the first time in a long time. So
that's true.
Not that we didn't enjoy it the other way. I should have worded that differently. But nonetheless, we do understand, and that's not easy to plan around.
Okay. I guess I'm just throwing it out there. As
Dr. Bonner?
Yeah, just real quickly to your point, Ms. Lasan, I guess if that's a point in the mind of parents and other voters, they would want to go for option 3 and have school after Memorial Day, because that would push the gap a little closer. So,
Ms. Sells?
Do you have a calculation of how many instructional minutes are in each semester based on these 3?
In each semester?
Yeah.
Yes, I have that. I just don't have it. I would have to work as it. You want me to put it in board minutes for you?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay.
That would be awesome. I just want to see the deviation between the fall semester and the spring semester. I know that last year, one of the options we looked at really lopsided it. I want to make sure we're not getting into that.
I have days
Yeah,
for
that would work.
semester. It's in your board book in the calculation page.
Okay. It's so
It's-
tiny.
Yeah, at the very top where it has like above Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that 45, 42, 41.
Oh, is that okay?
Mhm. That's
So I
number of
did
days.
not know what all the different little
Yes.
numbers were.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was looking for and couldn't
Mhm.
find. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Miller. Next up, Dr. Fitzhugh, STAR testing and accountability.
Okay, well, really, we're just here tonight. As you'll recall, accountability has been on pause for a little bit, our ratings for the 2023 school year. And so we've continued to push this item down a little bit. And so really, I'm here tonight to say that in late October, the court, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, but there's an injunction ruled, an injunction was put in place, and TEA is prohibited from releasing ratings until further notice. The trial date was set for February. TEA has said they're going to appeal, so I don't know where that puts the timeline, but according to Ms. Bay, we're entering the holiday season, and February is a little, so we don't know when an appeal would happen in that process. So ratings are on hold. Federal ratings, though, are allowed, permitted, And so we will be getting those here in the next few days in terms of knowing which campuses would be comprehensive, targeted, or additional targeted. And so we'll have some additional information for you in the upcoming weeks with that piece. But in terms of A to F, we are on a pause until more information is available.
Thank you very much. Next up is the Targeted Improvement Plans. Ms. Litchfield.
Good evening, President, Dr. Rapp, and board members. As you've just heard from Dr. Fitzhugh, there's currently a pause in our accountability system. Because of that, we did want to bring you a small update, though, on our campuses that are participating in the Targeted Improvement Plan process. As you'll remember, last school year, the board approved the Targeted Improvement Plans for Mill Street, Huffines, and Durham Middle School. Those schools worked with the ESC personnel throughout last year to complete the items brought forward in their plans, and we updated the board throughout the year on those. As always, our ESC managers were very complimentary of our schools and our principals and the great work that's going on there. We do have Ms. Bailey out in our audience tonight from Mill Street, who's working her plan right now, so kudos to all the work they're doing. Mill Street attended the training this school year and has changed one prioritized area, and you do have the prioritized areas in your board materials. No new plans are going to be brought forward at this time due to the accountability ratings not being issued. And then Huffines and Durham are continuing to do the same work from last year. And like I said, Mill Street has changed one priority area focus. So that's really all I have. I can try to answer some questions for you. But thank you for your continued support of the work going on all of our campuses.
Dr. Barker.
Just one quick question. Have we internally identified any campuses that we think might need a targeted improvement plan and started to think about what that might look like beyond what we're already doing?
Yes.
Yes, we've looked at all of our data and we've put we haven't written a formal targeted improvement plan, but we have put actions in place to address learning needs of students.
I assume so, but I thought I would ask.
And the school chiefs have been working closely with those campuses also.
I do want to reiterate that we appreciate the work that goes on at these campuses. I know sometimes it can be an extra heavy lift, and it is greatly appreciated. Next up, the never-ending 88th legislative session update from Dr. Rapp.
All right, Madam President, members of the board, I did want to bring you an update. A lot has actually changed since we saw each other for the work session recently, so I think it's important to go over some items with you all tonight. Ultimately, education legislation is moving quickly in the fourth called special session. I know I've been keeping you all updated. Thank you for submitting public comment. I appreciate the House giving constituents across the state of Texas the opportunity to submit public comment online. And it would be great if the Senate could allow that opportunity as well. Okay, so let's do a little recap on the Senate bill. So Senate Bill 1, it establishes the Education Savings Accounts Program. It appropriated $500 million for that purpose. The ESAs would be $8,000 for each eligible student, and it provides $1,000 for homeschool students. Senate Bill 2 was referred to the House committee, so both of these have passed the Senate. It increases the basic allotment by $75 from $6,160 to $6,235 per student, increases the school safety allotment, and addresses what they call teacher retention, and it varies the amount based on the size of the district. The Texas House has passed House Bill 1. So the House, different from the Senate put education savings accounts and school finance in two separate bills. The House has everything in one bill. So it creates an education savings account, again, appropriates $500 million. The value of that ESA is $10,500, provides $1,000 for homeschool students, increases the basic allotment to $6,700 beginning in fiscal year 25, and does create an inflationary adjustment there. It creates a teacher residency program, raises the teacher incentive allotment. It also addresses teacher retention with one-time bonuses. It provides special education funding based on intensity of service, establishes a fine arts allotment, and increases the transportation allotment. This is not an exhaustive list of all things House Bill 1, but just some highlights from House Bill 1. Then the Texas House passed House Bill 2. This is specific to safety. All right, so they are repealing the school safety allotment and establishing a school safety grant program and investing not to exceed $1.1 billion per year. That would be through grants awarded by the commissioner. And the legislation here could only go into effect if the corresponding the constitutional amendment would be passed by the state of Texas. So Texas voters would have to support the creation of the state school safety fund. So that's a little bit different approach to call out safety specifically by the House, but that's what they've done here, and it will be on to the full House for consideration. Now, you know, one of my favorite pastimes is to go back and study the fiscal notes of these bills, and so I do want to point out some important things I think you all need to know. In House Bill 1 specifically, there is a lot of obligation to the Texas Education Agency to collect data from districts, to develop and administer grant programs, to provide technical assistance to districts regarding the TEA, the Teacher Residency Partnership. There's even comments about updating the list of reading instruments and the TEA developing a new data collection system to collect student reading instrument scores. So an initial analysis indicates that TEA would need to add 160.5 FTEs to support these requirements. The comptroller continues to be the one that both the Senate and the House are looking to administer the ESAs, and that's about 11 FTEs. House Bill 1 also increases the cap on charter school facilities funding. It raises that from $60 million to $300 million by the year 2030. This analysis, it's interesting when you go read how much detail is in with exact dollar amounts of what TEA or the comptroller or whatever other state agency is noted about the money they would need. And then when you get to the local education section, there's just very generic statements at times. In other words, well, LEAs are going to get additional funding through the FSP. So, but that's not necessarily indicative that we would get the money to add all of the personnel corresponding to all of the increased data collection requirements that might be generated from the House bill. House Bill 1 also continues to note, and I did share this with you prior to here, I know, but just that LEAs would also see a decrease in funding due to students leaving the public school. So we're going to increase the data collection. We're going to increase the amount of people able to collect data. We're going to decrease the amount that schools receive when students leave public schools, and we're not really estimating yet exactly how much schools could add with the FSP funding. It's also interesting to note that you all made it into the fiscal notes. It's assumed that districts would incur costs for annual discussions during school board meetings on special education. I thought that's a new note. And then that there would be costs requiring school districts to make supplemental reading instruction available. But again, they don't do the analysis on what could that cost be. Okay, it's just very generic. Okay, Senate Bill 1, this one's very interesting to me too. So the comptroller again is going to add those 11 FTEs, but the second bullet, this analysis, this is new. This was not in Special Session 3 fiscal notes, I do not believe. It assumes 4 attorneys would be needed to defend against anticipated litigation challenging the legality of the program, drafting the rules, and supporting the fraud investigations and prosecutions that would result from this program. So we're recognizing that fraud would happen with $500 million appropriated by the state for ESAs. The comptroller also would have administrative costs associated with outside counsel that would provide legal support in development and administration of the program. TEA in the Senate Bill 1 is adding 6 FTEs, and then there is a note there that LEAs with fewer than 5,000 enrolled students that experience a decline would receive $10,000 per child residing in the district to help offset the loss. And again, that's just for school districts with fewer than 5,000 enrolled. So what happens now? House Bill 1 is going to the floor for debate on Friday. This is a very large deal because this will be the first time that vouchers have gone to the full House floor for a debate. So we have an opportunity between now and Friday to reach out to our elected officials about our thoughts
on these bills and ensure that they also are aware of what's in these fiscal notes. Okay? And that's all I've got.
Dr. Bonner.
You know, if you come to enough of these meetings and you sit through them all and you listen, you will hear a lot of irony. I really appreciate Dr. Rapp's book reports on fiscal notes, because here's the irony tonight. We did a first report just a few items back. It's a brief agenda tonight. We did the first report, and LISD had a stellar review. Our administrative cost ratio was infinitesimal, right? Little bitty. We got all the points. Fast forward to the fiscal notes that Dr. Rapp just reported, and you see TEA adding to their administrative bureaucracy by over 100 positions. So we have a governing agency, administrative agency in TEA that is becoming a bloated bureaucracy, and the local education agency, Lewisville ISD, is squeezing to the bone to reduce administrative costs. So if you come to enough of these meetings, you just see the irony in this. I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Sells.
I think my first thought was just one question. What could go wrong? And then I wrote exactly what Dr. Bonner was speaking to about our first report, and how I would like for one person that represents us in Austin to defend the work we do, to speak out in a positive way for the work that we do. The work that we do that is judged, it is critiqued, and yet it is audited to an A rating every year. So my challenge to those is to look, if you have to already plan for fraud, once again, I go back to my question. What could go wrong?
I look forward to reaching out to my representatives to ask them how much of my taxpayer dollars will be going towards fraud for a system that is not necessary. So I can save them a few positions in that regard. So next up is our district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Dr. Rapp, Mr. Garrett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Garrett. I just want to take this opportunity. I know you are doing amazing work with our schools and the work we have with school safety, and we really do appreciate it. So I know you'll be back before us every month with a report, and this is the first of those.
All right. Well, just a quick reminder. So last year, the state of Texas started doing intruder detection audits at campuses across the state, something that LISD has done for the last 10 years. They have started up again this year. So I'm going to give you all an update for the months of September and October. And like Dr. Rapp said, we'll be doing these each month as we get the reports. So for September and October, we had Briar Hill Middle School, Camey Elementary, DeGan Elementary, DeLay Middle School, Griffin Middle School, Hebron High School, Indian Creek, Killian Middle School, Liberty Elementary School, Lily Jackson, Old Settlers Elementary, Parkway Elementary, Memorial Elementary, and Pulsar Elementary. And I'm proud to say out of those 14 sites, we had no findings those 2 months. I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garrett. Moving on to action items, we already addressed action item 01. Moving on to action item 02, consider approval of agreement for the purchase of attendance credits in accordance with Chapter 49 of the Texas Education Code. Ms. Maloney.
Thank you, President Prosnick. As we discussed at the work session last week, we're bringing the recommendation to exercise the recommendation for option 3, purchase of attendance credit. That's the lowest cost option for paying recapture. We are projecting some recapture in the Tier 2 copper pennies that were just approved by the voters in the election. It is a required action item that we bring before you this evening.
Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Taylor?
Madam President, I move that the board approve the option 3 agreement for the purchase of attendance credit in accordance with Chapter 49 of the Texas Education Code for the 2023-2024 school year. In addition, for the 2023-2024 school year, the Board of Trustees delegates contractual authority to obligate the school district under Texas Education Code, Section 11.1511C4, to the superintendent solely for the purpose of obligating the district under TEC Section 48.257 and TEC Chapter 49, Subchapters A and D, and the rules adopted by the Commissioner of Education as authorized under TEC 49.006.
Do I have a second? Dr. Bonner? Any discussion? Dr. Barker?
I just want to go back to this idea of irony for a second, because this is a action that we have to do to pay part of our taxpayer dollars back to the state. And if they would give off this mess about vouchers and just deal with the basic allotment, we wouldn't have to do this. That's all.
Any further comments? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? It passes 7-0. Next up is to consider adoption of a resolution casting the votes for the Lewisville Independent School District for candidates of the Board of Directors of the Denton Central Appraisal District. This was brought before the board at the work session by the committee that Dr. Bonner, Ms. Alcateb, and I serve on. And at this time, I would ask, would someone like to make a motion? Dr. Bonner.
Mr. President, I move that we, the LISD Board of Trustees, cast our 1,165 votes for the Denton Central Appraisal District Board of Director candidates in this manner. Roy Atwood, 440 votes. Alex Buck, 425 votes. And Ann Pomecoy, 300 votes, for a total of 1,165 votes.
Is there a second? Ms. Alcateb, any discussion? Dr. Bonner.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. Denton Central Appraisal District leadership changed, in the recent past, and the current chief executive there, Mr. Don Spencer, has done great work alongside the board of directors that he currently has in place in reforming operations. And what we talked about as a committee in part was offering our votes to continue that stabilized board. It is a shame we don't have enough votes to spend on all the directors, but with the assessed values rising across booming Denton County, our number of votes was diminished, but we do thankfully offer these for the candidates involved.
I would concur with that. Are there, Ms. Lasan?
So there's 5 positions, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay. And so, I completely respect the work of committees, and I know y'all discussed people and positions and things, and I don't want to bring that up, at this juncture. But I guess I'm here to. I guess what I want to say is there were other candidates, and that not necessarily reached out to us, but I guess so. You guys feel that these are the ones that are, and there's probably a lot of thought that went into the number of votes that you gave each candidate to make sure that these are the ones that we for sure want to get on the board.
Yeah, we talked, in my recollection, mostly about a desire for stability on that board, given the good work that has been done in the recent past. As far as the allocation of the number of votes, Mr. Buck and Ms. Pomecoy were nominated by more entities than any other candidate. And I don't want to get into the strategy of that, but you can look at the numbers and maybe suspect why we did what we did.
I have been on this committee before, and so
Yes,
I
ma'am.
get it. Anyway, okay. Thank you for the work.
Anything else? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. And now we move on to Tarrant County. And this is considered adoption for resolutions for the Board of Directors of the Tarrant Appraisal District. Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Sells.
I move that we, the LISD Board of Trustees, cast our 5 votes for the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors candidates in this manner. Gary Lasada, 5 votes.
Do I have a second? Ms. Taylor? I will speak to this in just that I reached out to some of our fellow trustees who are in Tarrant County, and this was their recommendation, and I trust their opinion on that. With that, I will call for the vote. All those in favor? 7-0. Next on the agenda is to hear a student grievance appeal. However, this item has been moved to the December 11th regular board meeting and will be heard at that time. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 8:41 p.m. Have a pleasant evening.